This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
But the choice between the blue and the red pill is not really a choice between illusion and reality. Of course, Matrix is a machine for fictions, but these are fictions which already structure our reality. If you take away from our reality the symbolic fictions that regulate it, you lose reality itself. I want a third pill. So what is the third pill? Definitely not some kind of transcendental pill which enables a fake fast food religious experience, but a pill that would enable me to perceive not the reality behind the illusion, but the reality in illusion itself. If something gets too traumatic, too violent, even too filled in with enjoyment, it shatters the coordinates of our reality. We have to fix.
That was zizek just going on even harder. What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? How you guys are doing? It's your boy GXC here. And as you can see, we are in the 10th chapter. That's right, the 10th chapter of the Political Black Pill. And I'm glad, if you guys are joining this, we're going to watch this live. And those who are going to watch the replay, we're glad that you're going to watch this too. I work very hard at this. And I'm just going to keep working and keep optimizing to make things better. Some of you sign ups before we get things started, of course. I'm your host, GXG. This show here, it's basically in a show that I'm working on, constructing on. We're going to improve, just like how the setup is improving. You used to see my previous streams. It was kind of a struggle stream, but now it's getting a little bit more modernized, getting to the height of where I want to take this this setup and this channel, so you can greatly see that I really have a passion for this. I really enjoy doing these streams and these video setup and stuff like that. Speaking of videos, those are all being batched. All the scripts are being written, refined. And usually when I make videos, like my old videos, if you've seen, I like to include sketches on that. So what I'm going to do, besides like jumping right into that type of stuff, that rant and ramble, or we talk about different subjects on a video format, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit more of a talking head / like kind of reactish thing, reactionish, whatever you want to call it. And we're gonna like taper from that and then going, upgrade ourselves from that. So, there's a clear line of improvement from like the video formats that I do on my YouTube channel. And we're also live on Twitch. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Trovo. And we're going to be live on TikTok too. But what I'm going to do is kind of like have a certain type of content that's like relative to TikTok. More of like kind of like the jokey reaction, have fun type content. So if you like that type of stuff, you can follow me on TikTok and all the social media platforms that I work so tirelessly hard to improve for you guys who like the things that I do. And I understand it's a marathon, not a race. So, if you guys want to be a part of this marathon and jog with me here and join the Propagandist Guild and be a part of the Political Black Pill 2 in your name and infamy, join the chat. You're more welcome to do that. Now, didn't do a show Thursday night because not Thursday night. I'm sorry, Tuesday night, because there was a couple things that got in the way, which I was unable to go live. Certain life happens. So us content creators can't just hop in and just do things when we regularly schedule it. But what I might do today, depending on how I feel, is I'm going to see if we can do a doubleheader. Usually Wednesdays is why I just go live and just react to things, go wild. And if you want to join that type of stuff, if you like that type of content, when you react to like, public freak out, whatever the case may be, like the current political affairs or, stuff like that, then you're more welcome to join that as well. Anyways, this topic, the chapter we're going to discuss today is the war on teachers, and that your child is going to be left behind. Now, this chapter was inspired by the recent event in Ohio, where there was a there was a mass strike that happened, and the largest, I believe, was the largest amount of teachers went on strike. Against the working conditions that they have to endure just to educate your children. So, I think the strike is over by now, but it kind of inspired, this show for today. Anyways, if you like what you see, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, follow, donate, whatever your heart's fancy right now. I'm not gonna harper you guys on like doing all that extra stuff right now until we grow. So if you like it, especially on the YouTube side, hit the subscribe button. Things have been tapered down, but we want to basically get back up on this horse and do this damn thing. So I'll be a content creator that can provide you the entertainment that you asked for. There's now studio lights. Now this corner of the room has studio lights, so I don't have to worry about in the dark and like messing with my desk lamp or like the lamp on the ceiling. I actually have lights pointing down at me, and you can see the lighting is almost perfect now. So that's another thing too. We're almost, like I said before, at the peak of where I want to keep things, and I'm gonna keep it there, and then everything else is just gonna be software / content improvement stuff like that. So a lot of people are gonna ask, well, what is the political black pill? And as always, this definition is not set in stone. It is basically, how do I say this? It is transformative. It can transform comparatively to. No, the definition is transformative. Apologize. And also, watching my previous streams, I kind of see like where the energy is at. So I'm gonna try to my best to like pump the energy back up to have some excitement from the topics we're talking about. Okay. So why black pill? What is the political black pill? So due to the inevitable outcomes of this socially parasitic, hyper-capitalistic system ruled by the malignant narcissist elite, we have no choice than to be fatalistic with the news and political developments of the world. The political black pill is not a nihilist philosophy, as I am redefining it to be more pessimistic, because we have to change the speed necessary to bring about change and improvements in our life. And now the planet is fighting back because we haven't made that change. We are optimistic of the select people out there fighting back and or have the potential to. You see, this current political system and the media pundits, whether independent or mainstream, love it when you bend the knee to the establishment. We here at the Political Black Pill say, don't do that. You're free to vote or not vote. You're free to be active or not. This is not a philosophy against activism, unless your activism is to maintain the status quo and or repackaging fascism. That's something we don't agree here. So you'll see and ask, why the chapters? The chapters is to organize the show from the various topics being discussed and or revisited. Also, the show is set up to be interactive, so from time to time, if you range off and ramble off, just forgive that. We'll continue on with the show. So pull up your lawn chair and watch the car crash with us. This is the Political Black Pill, and I am GXG. Oh, look at that! And if my computer cooperates, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. Hey, what do you think, Trump?
You are fake news.
That's right.
You are fake news.
Oh, so twice. Oh, I'm fake news. Okay. That's nice. So, just to get things warmed up, let's just jam a little bit. Oh, yeah, the music is muted. So, remember I mentioned that, the world is fighting back. The planet is fighting back. And I think it was a couple chapters ago, we talked about our climate change, over-encompassing subject of climate change. We didn't touch on every single facet of climate change, and we didn't get really too deep into the scientific causes of climate changes, because a lot of people already recognize that. What we got into is the ramifications and consequences of climate change and what that means to you. This is what I like to do in this show. So I want to take these topics and try to relate them to yourself, and solutions may be born out of that, or we may dwell on the conflict itself. So let's take this to the next. So, as always, we're going to, for anyone watching on Twitch, by the way, there is a command, if you want to know. It's a shorter version of what the political black pill is, and Nightbot will tell it to you. So if anyone new here and wants to know what is a political black pill, that command is there too for Twitch. I'm working and seeing if there's commands for YouTube or whatnot, so people can do that too. I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah, I'll figure that out later. So, sitting here being the worker for you guys. Hopefully you guys are entertained. All right, hopefully. Anyways, let's get to our warm-up news as we hit the current affairs. All right. So this is what's going on in Pakistan. Hard to comprehend the scale of the flood disaster in Pakistan, the fifth most populated nation in the world. Nearly 1,400 dead, 1 million houses damaged or destroyed, and 50 million people displaced. 1/3 of the country is now underwater. And this is exactly the message that I've been trying to harp home here. The planet is fighting back against you. It's because we haven't really done nothing to tackle on the huge issue of climate change. So guess what? Our citizenry suffers, and everyone else has to feel the consequences of these major, gigantic economic powerhouses of countries who basically pollute the waters, contribute to greenhouse gases. And now we're going to see more and more of this ramp up. So let's just see the destruction of what's going on in Pakistan. This is crazy, bro. Look at this shit. Oh, I'm gonna try to slow down on the swearing as well. But look at this. Imagine that. The planet is fighting back in a literal sense. I don't mean that in like a, being playful with words. No, I mean that literally. The planet is fighting back. All right. You are the cause of these issues. So the planet can take some damage onto itself and onto all the foundations and infrastructures that you build upon it and wipe it away. It's the giant erasure. It's the giant global erasure that's happening around now with the human population. Not only are certain places population are declining, we're seeing more and more natural disasters. And look, the areas in which most influential countries basically largely ignore and or abuse is being affected by it. Now, what you see is, your empathetic self is saying, oh man, like this is terrible, this is horrible, we should do something about it. Where the global elite, I should say, they are seeing the opportunity, right?
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan.
Now, they see, oh shoot, this is dollars missing. This is us being in the red, right? Let's make that loop, you're gonna make that loop. So, also, weeks of torrential downpours combined with global glacial melts has led to this catastrophic flooding across Pakistan. So, since I'm guessing the tops, the ice, the glacial part of the region is melting, which contributing to more and more destructive natural disasters. Now, of course, you can go on and read that subject and whatnot topic, but this is just the current affairs, so we can warm up of what's going on and what's to come. So what do you think about that? What are your personal convictions of this? Might be your homeland. You can stay comfortable in your McMansion or your mini home and think that you are somehow protected from the planet's oncoming disasters. And people forget the United States is home to a lot of anomalies that happens when it comes to climate. So don't think there's that downpour that you feel and those various thunderstorms that are becoming more and more frequent are not going to become more and more destructive. So we could sit here and think of ourselves out of sight, out of mind. Not my place. It's not a place that I rest. So who gives a f? It has to be something that should cause concern for you, right? So I don't know what's the plan. I don't know what's the plan. I really don't. Like, we can sign on to any accord, any peace treaties that we can. We could try to mitigate as much as we can with now our current push to switch to greener energy. But I'm more in the camp of now it's just too late. It's just way too late. It's way too late now for us. There's nothing that we can do about this. At this point, we just gotta build our armor and shield ourselves for what's to come. All right, that's the only thing that's gonna protect us. And also, as I develop this philosophy, this new way of thinking or structure this plan of buying your own freedom, I call it buy your own freedom, but it's much more layered than just capital equals freedom type stuff. It's more of like what you should do as an individual to mitigate the natural disaster known as capitalism, right? All right. So speaking of going green and whatnot, Tucker Carlson had a segment about the environment as well. You see, this is how I like to do this show. I like to tailor on the current events and kind of warm you up to the main topic at hand. That way, when we speak about it, we're in a good place. And also, I'm gonna try to not to go 3 hours, because the last chapter we did, we went freaking 3 hours long, and I saw myself being drowsy and sleepy. So hopefully we can shorten this chapter, right? And we just get straight to the meat, potatoes, and tofu and kale for those who eat vegan, right? All right, so electric vehicles for the environment. Let's see what Tucker Carlson has to say about the environment itself. Are terrible for the environment. As the New York Times reported last year, productions of raw materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel that are essential to EVs technologies are often ruinous to land, water, wildlife, and people. Here's the thing. That is actually absolutely correct. Now, let's see what's Tucker Carlson's framing of why these resources are destructive. And you probably could guess it's going to be tailored off to propaganda, lies, misinformation, just to misconstrue to people who have already been comfortable with the devastating effects caused by our ancient, I want to say ancient dinosaur energy type, the old oil and gas energy and stuff like that. Let's just watch it. Maybe we can deconstruct this ourselves, or not.
Banning gasoline engines, which we have had for more than 100 years, which have completely defined modern society, and that if you're a normal person in this country and don't use the subway from the Upper West Side to Midtown every day, but actually drive like the overwhelming majority of Americans, this
normal person. There is no normal person. That's a relative talking point to use to make you feel comfortable as of the lifestyle that you live now. Here's the unfortunate truth about labeling people normal. Relatively to the world that we live in, which is becoming less and less normal, the environment in which our grandparents grew up in is becoming less and less normal. It's gonna take a non-normal person, an ill-normal person. I don't know what the word is for that. A person who's not normal to actually take the challenge of facing this irregular environment.
the biggest change in your lifetime. Have you been consulted on it? Has there been a debate about it? No. All you hear is you must do this because it's good for the environment. But that's a lie. It's measurably a lie. Electronic vehicles are terrible for the environment. Roger McGrath took the time to spell it out recently in Chronicles magazine. As he noted, supplying the materials necessary for the battery of an electric car alone, just the battery, requires, and we're quoting, processing using fossil fuels, of course, of at least 50 tons of ores. Ooh, it takes a lot of energy to process ore. A single battery for an electric car needs at least, quote, 30 pounds of lithium, 60 pounds of cobalt, 130 pounds of nickel, 90 pounds of copper, 190 pounds of graphite, and roughly 500 pounds of steel, aluminum, magnesium, plastic, and other materials, end quote. All of which are derived from mining. Oh, where's that mining going to take place? Well, in third world countries.
Well, think about this, right? The method of extracting these resources are becoming unchanging. And what they're doing is they're hoping, as they read out these larger numbers to you, they're hoping to like this construct this argument as if like the greener sources of energy that we're trying to, renewable sources of energy that we're trying to establish or create, like that's the end all be all, right? That those that we're becoming highly consumptuous of the minerals upon this planet, which is necessary for our lifestyles to continue. But the funny thing is what's trying to be mitigated here is not so much as building and constructing these renewable resource energies or these more cleaner energies, more cleaner methods of how do I say it? Cleaner methods, basically greener methods, for lacking a better phrase or finding the perfect sentence for this this stance. It's trying to mitigate the results of what we produce, right? So you produce like a petrol car, gas car, right? Well, those emits exhaust that is harmful to the environment. Unlike an EV, which doesn't, which everything that's being used from the environment is sustained within what is produced, right? An electric vehicle does not produce any CO2 as we know of yet. Doesn't produce any damage to the environment, which is basically could be renewable and innovated to be even cleaner, to find better methods of mining. Well, let's see what Tucker Carlson takes it from this.
With no environmental regulations whatsoever? How is this good for the environment?
So now we're pro regulation. You see how the switch flips depending on who's arguing what, right? So we want to deregulate corporations so they have more freedom to innovate and find newer methods to take us forward into the future, but not when it's something that disagrees with my donors or in this case my sponsors.
So as we can understand. And yet in California, under Gavin Newsom's new order, every vehicle would require those materials. Here's the problem. We don't have that much lithium or cobalt in the United States. So where are those elements going to come from, which are required for electric vehicles? Oh, well, lithium mines in China. Did you know the answer to that already? Probably did. And the Congo. Let's go exploit Africa so we can feel virtuous. As the New York Times reported last year,
in contrast to exploiting Africa to be even more profitable, this exploitation isn't gonna change, right? Any mode of production that we have isn't gonna change in terms of basically profitability for corporations and the destructive consequences due to that, right? It's a bigger problem that's being basically viewed with a microscope on tiny issues and subject matters. So the biggest issue is, how do we find and construct, I want to say widgets, commodities, or whatever, or items that's necessary for our lifestyle? Well, under capitalism, irregardless of if the corporations decide to be green or if the corporations decide to be use gas, petrol, whatnot, more harmful to the environment, stuff like that, because it's cheaper, because it's been mass produced. The results are still going to be the same in terms of the human condition. So any modes, any things that we try to mitigate the disasters of basically the capitalist blueprint, which is extreme human exploitation, especially in like third world countries, the more and more we arrive to this conclusion that it's the overall system that's the problem, not the little steps, the little band-aids we try to create to fix the problem, which is. And this enables a lot of people who can frame the argument, such like Tucker, that we shouldn't be looking towards any sort of progressive changes in our policy, in our legislators, not even legislators, in our policies, our legislators, and and our companies that we decide that run the show. No, everything must stay the same, right? Everything must be conserved, right? Which as far as technology is progressing, we're actually regressing in terms of culture, our society, our technology to a small degree. And so they bank on that because where you currently are in the present, it's difficult to see a future in which will become your present, if that makes any sense to you, right? So understand this, like the conservative banks on this primal human fear of change, right? Because the change in environment introduces unknowns. Right? These unknowns makes you taken back, makes you become more protective, and you're just more comfortable for the way things are. But that's just not how things work, right? If that was the case, then we will still probably be in the medieval ages, right? If we deeply feared change that much. It only took a few innovators, a lot of innovators to have us to where we're at now in terms of technology, industry, health, etc., etc. So here's the rundown of that is they bank on your fear of change.
And we're quoting, production of raw materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel that are essential to electronic vehicle technologies are often ruinous to land, water, wildlife, and people, end quote. And by the way, land, water, wildlife, and people are exactly the four things that the environmental lobby has no interest at all in. They don't care about the land, they don't care about the water, they don't care about the wildlife, and they don't care about the people. It's not about that at all. It's a religion. It's about making them feel like good people and increasing their control over you, period.
And that goes to exactly what I've been talking about in the last chapter about New Age conservatism versus, you know, people like Tucker Carlson, who are a bit. Tucker Carlson basically is now reframing himself, or like recharacterizing himself to be a little bit more with the new age conservative types. But it's something that I touched on in my last chapter, especially like with these types. They like to project a lot of a lot of the failures of the system that they champion onto newer ways to define the current system, the newer ways to innovate. That's all their job is. That's really what it is, right? To make sense of things must stay constant, right? Anything that brings about that a change within that constant is to be feared and dreaded, right? Are you thinking here? Are you seeing what the propaganda being spewed to you? Do you understand this? Huh? Or are you going to sit down and just say, I'm going to vote Democrat blindly. I'm going to vote Republican blindly. I'm going to vote Independent blindly. I'm going to champion and knock on doors blindly. You know, not looking into the deeper changes of the system that need to be systemically changed, right? What do you think, Trump?
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
And you, Biden?
You ain't black.
I hate Biden. He's so mean to me, man. I'm telling you, bro. It's just fucking trash, man. Hey, why'd I vote for him? So sad. So that was the Tucker Carlson clip. So for those of you who are gonna watch this, I hope I can, see what you guys think about that segment. All right, let's go on to the next story. The next story that we got for that now, well, not current story, current news and affairs and politics that we got going on. University of Minnesota custodians, diner workers, mechanics, and other service workers are holding an informational picket as students move into their dorms. They're unionized with the Teamsters Local 320 and seeking a $20 hour minimum wage. It's 15 for now. So as we transition to our main topic at hand, we want to check out what's going on currently. Like I said, this chapter was inspired by the recent events in Columbus, Ohio. So I hope you guys can let's see what's going on here. Now, most of these things here is a fresh react. Okay, I didn't pre-watch any of this. I did some like studying up on what's going on in terms of like teachers' demands, union demands when it comes to teachers and stuff like that, on Common Core and all that, just in case someone pops up with their bad faith argument. But let's continue forward. If there's sound, oh my God, come on, bruh. Come on, G. Come on, G. You gotta do better than that. You gotta do better than that. All right. Forgive the video quality, as this is Reddit video, which is notorious for being extremely good or just outright donkey doo-doo. So that's them picketing. That's them basically being on strike of what's going on. Let's read some of the comments. Oh yeah, good for them. 15-8-ish anywhere near the U or near Minnesota or Metro at this point. Keep up the fighting, brothers and sisters. So yeah, this is just workers striking back. This is a Reddit that I like to view myself. So if you're into what's going on in terms of the solidarity and collective action of the workers or proletariat, whatever you define them as, well, of course, it means almost the same. Then yeah, check out that Reddit stuff. It's pretty damn good. All right, so let's see what else we got here. And with that being said, there's a couple notes that I want to take that explain. There's a couple things I wanted, like the state, to explain why this political black bill was inspired. Like I said before, it was the Columbus, Ohio, the teachers strike, right? Teachers union strike. So it's just about to talk about the current affairs of educators in this country. Basically, this is the sector of the working class that has the most unique circumstances in which they educate the youth, right? We're talking about teachers here. Everyone knows this, and we still abuse the ish out of our educators. right? We know that in this country, we basically don't value our teachers as much as we can, as much as we need to, because these are the people who shape the minds of our future, right? Our youth, right? These are the people who watch our kids for 8 hours, 9 hours plus a day, 10 hours in some districts. But basically right now, the system that we're fighting against is just trying to squeeze blood out this rock, right? Teachers have to face not only the headache, inducing struggle of watching your big-headed baby kids, they have to deal with neglectful parents. Imagine that fight with all the neglectful parents out there. Neglectful students. There's students who basically are just, we can just outright define them as agents of chaos. Neglectful administrators, of course. This is the biggest factor in which a lot of teachers have. This is the biggest hurdle in which teachers have to constantly try to jump over or climb when it comes to the administrators, because, you know, if it's the administrator's pocket or the teacher's pocket, well, we're cutting back on teachers. We're cutting back on any sort of resources we can provide for teachers. That's just the nature of the beast, because sometimes bloated bureaucracy. I should rephrase that. Sometimes bloated bureaucracy doesn't really help anyone. Co-workers, of course. You always have that individual who thinks that everything's all fine and dandy because they get the summers off, so they think, until they find their paychecks running dry before summer starts, and now they have to drive and do 5 or 10 gig economy jobs just to keep the lights on, because you may have stopped teaching, you may take a large summer break, but the bills keep flowing. And also inflation is here, the cost of goods is rising, and all this will be explained in further detail the more and more we get into the subject matter. Disgusting people who use the classroom as a gun range. We know now that this country, ever more before, is seeing more and more of an increase on mass shootings in the classroom. Well, the most vulnerable of our society is constantly being targeted by the most mentally deranged of our society. The people who have to have a grand spectacle of their message, or they just went out bat crazy insane, right? And kind of insensitive for me to phrase it that way, but you just have to tell yourself, like, we have to just find ourselves saying harsher words or phrasing just to get the point across, and that's why I say it like that. So, and also how funny it is that teachers get a whole lot of hate that they do. We're gonna see a compilation of that. So with that all being said, let's go to a solution that DeSantis has introduced on recruiting veterans, right? People who I can't imagine who's going to the amount of stress, the nerve-wracking stress of being in the military in itself, not to mention going to war, and then coming back from that into a country that basically abandoned them. It just seems like political pandering and talking points just for maybe a presidential bid in DeSantis' part. And let's hear it from the horse's mouth, right? All right. Government DeSantis on recruiting veterans to the teaching field. Our veterans have a wealth of knowledge and experience that they can bring to bear in the classroom. For too long, the requirements to be a teacher have been too rigid. So let me understand this straight. You know what? Let's listen to this first before I go fucking. I'm sorry. I'm gonna slow down the swearing before I go off.
If you served in the military for at least 4 years, were honorably discharged, have taken 60 college credits, and passed a subject area exam, we want you to be able to teach Florida students. Our veterans have a wealth of knowledge and experience they can bring to bear in the classroom, and with this innovative approach, they will be able to do so for 5 years with a temporary certification as they work towards their degree. For too long, the requirements to be a teacher have been too rigid, with union bosses insisting that all educators get certain credentials that often have little impact on teaching performance.
Union bosses. This is the governor of Florida, right? Against the unionizing, against the collective action of the very same unions that would vote for him to be put in office. It's a demonization of when you get together and collectivize your labor power, that you become the enemy of the establishment. You become the enemy of the political establishment as well, right? It's only then when you decide to get together with your friends, your community, and say, like, we were trying to fight back to make things better for ourselves and our community. Thus, you become the boogeyman, the evil in our society, right? Because this system itself deem you unfit You know, too many gears in the machine, too many cogs in the machine going the opposite way, going counterclockwise to whatever has been established for them to be turned.
Every morning, our students recite the Pledge of Allegiance while looking at the Star-Spangled Banner. And it's fitting that the teacher in the classroom is somebody who took an oath and put his or her life on the line to preserve, protect, and defend our flag and the freedom it represents. From devil dogs to salty dogs and doughboys to flyboys, we respect our veterans and know that they have a lot to offer. Thanks so much, and God bless.
So basically, this is just pandering. This is just DeSantis trying to throw red meat to the conservative base, seeing that, you know, of course, we're going to turn to the troops when it's most convenient. And even though we've abused them to the umpteenth degree, right? But let's check out what people have to say about this, right? Good Lord. The troops to teacher program has been around since 90s. Member teachers of different services, training, blah. Wait, is he serious? He's right. No wonder Florida schools are the most worst. The Republicans are better for the economy and society. Why are Republican states so the poorest, least educated, the least well-paying jobs, the most health problems, and have the highest dependence on welfare programs? We might get into that in red states on a later chapter. Far too long, the requirements for government has been far too lax. There's already a teacher shortage. I'm not sure, hey, anyone can do it is the answer when there's already undervalued. You know, knowing how to teach. Populist nonsense. You prove the requirement for governor is far too lax. You know, basically, yada, yada, yada. You can hear it going on and on. So my take in this, basically, my comment on what's going on here is because this is just, DeSantis has set this up to be red meat for the conservative base, right? It's always the troops that set up to be in the line of fire, ironic pun, when it comes to major issues and major issues in this country, right? It's the hero's sacrifice. It's the hero's constant sacrifice, I should say, in which, you know, the heroes, the people we deemed heroes in our society are often faced with setting themselves up to be crucified for the failures of our own system, right? So, you know, you come back from war, you just want to relax, you want to return to normal citizenry, right? You may want to go into teaching, and you find that the classroom is just another battlefield that you have to face, right? And that you wanted to take more relaxed measure. You want to take a more relaxed, change into basically being a normal civilian. You don't want to be dealt with the hardships of another battlefield that you've already faced overseas, right? You've already faced the highest of stresses any human being can face, which is in war. You know, basically younger men dying for older men's ambitions, and now you come back, and then you find yourself to being propped up again to be used and abused by the system, right? And this time, your enemies are the state administrators, the local administrators, the superintendents, your governor, your politicians, the parents, the very same parents and children you sworn to protect, pissing you off day to day. And we're not going to expect to see horrible outcomes come from that. No. Everything's going to be fine and dandy, right? Fine and dandy. Just like arming the teachers. Yeah. Arm a deranged PTSD, gun-ho, super patriotic person who basically died defending the flag in a classroom with a child who decides to be defiant with the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, that's a recipe for success and not disaster. You get what I'm going at? Maybe we should give our veterans a bit more of a break. Maybe this should have more of a relaxed conditions coming back to the States, right? They already don't want to be over there overseas, so why make it worse, right? Why not give them a rest period in which they can have 5 to 7 years of basically all their income paid for, basically like a UBI for servicemen and women, all right? And they come back 5 years, relaxed period, they can do what they want, take up a small job, everything will be paid for, and, you know, come with some, have some already paid for therapy program. They reintroduce them into the normal sylvanry, right? And then, you know, go and travel, take a relaxing vacation, and do what you can to keep your, you know, to kind of reboot your mind. You know, it'll take 5 to 7 years to do that. If you want to go back to school, you can. There's a GI Bill too. You know, just to keep, just to reward them for their sacrifice, right? You know, even though the military system is abolishment is an argument into the self, to which I agree in. Our current system, this is maybe something that I would propose to introduce to to put a band-aid on this. Another band-aid from me, right? All right. So since this is one major thing we're talking about, let's see what else we got here, right? All right. So let's talk about the Columbus teacher strike. And this is important here because we're going to go and see why they're striking. What's been going on? What is the major issue? Why do they want to go on strike? Huh? Is it because they want more money? Huh? Oh man, they get paid so much already. No, that's not the case. What we see here now is a lot of teachers going in and fighting for the conditions in which they work in. And you'll hear it in this story. Let's chat and react.
Students across the country returning to school this week, and that's highlighting a growing crisis with teachers. There are simply not enough of them right now. Government figures show that about 300,000 teachers left the education workforce, left the profession since February 2020. That would be when the COVID pandemic began. And in states like Mississippi, Florida, and Nevada, they've been hit especially hard by these shortages. Columbus, Ohio, meanwhile.
And it shows you exactly why DeSantis tried to introduce his program, even though it's not that new, for veterans to become teachers. Because, they see this as an opportunity to score conservative brownie points, Republican brownie points. And of course, string up the veterans to be another sacrificial lamb for their failures, and meeting teacher demands to have a more productive classroom. And yeah, of course, 300,000 teachers, a mass exodus of teachers in this country. These are the same educators that are raising your children. They see them more than you do in certain cases. Well, most circumstances, they see them more than you do. And you don't think this is a growing problem? You should be well aware that this is a major problem that's going on in this country. It's not a number to just, to ignore, because that number is going to be on the rise, right? Or what happens with the revolving door? What happens is the classroom becomes a revolving door for teachers. Well, let's see what's Columbus, the reason why they're striking. Fair use, by the way.
The state's biggest school district there is opening the year this morning with the teachers on strike. You see the pictures there. Elise Preston has made her way to East High School. That's in Columbus. Elise, good morning. Why is this happening there now?
Tony, good morning to you. The school board and teachers union have been negotiating for months without success. This ongoing strike means no one will be in class here today. Students will begin the school year online, with many taught by substitutes.
As you can see, that this is not a new problem. All right. What is going on with my sponsorship thing? My social media thing. It keeps popping up. Yeah, I'll hide that real quick. So this negotiation has been going on for months, right? And they haven't reached any sort of agreement because of the fight back from administrators. So, as the student leaves for the summer vacation. Summer vacation. Now teachers, summer break, vacation, whatever. Teachers have been, trying to, for months on end, on the back end of things, try to negotiate for improvements in the classroom.
Teachers in Columbus have been on strike since Monday, after the vast majority of the union's roughly 4,500 members voted to reject the latest contract offer from the city's Board of Education.
What do we want? What do we want now?
It marked yet another failed negotiation after 22 meetings since March.
Since March, as I said before, even months before the summer break, they've already been negotiating. They've been fighting in a different battlefield, trying to make sure that the conditions that the students are being taught at are I guess positive or is better. It's comparable to the amount of sacrifices that the teachers are making to reach, to teach the youth.
Union claims Columbus schools are in a state of disrepair, from missing ceiling tiles to lead paint to water leaks.
We will continue fighting.
In 2022, they have to deal with that. They have to deal with the consequences of a crumbling infrastructure, the lack of investment in our education system, right? And what are the arguments against that? We're going to see the arguments against that, but the arguments currently, just to give you a snapshot, is like they're asking for too much. They should be okay with the conditions that they work in. You've seen it for yourself. Most of these fucking schools, I swore. Well, I swore. Okay, all right, whatever. I was just so passionate about this too, so I let out a swear word. My bad. Most of these freaking conditions are just abhorrent, horrible, third world like conditions, right? And you expect your kids, you expect these teachers to show up, and your kids to be showing up in these conditions. Falling ceiling tiles, that's a hazard for any student that's walking across the hallway and all of a sudden being taken out. Lead paint, we already seen research and study what happens to the growth and development of the youth when they're introduced to lead paint. And also leaky roofs. That just means that the infrastructure is the building is a ticking time bomb, right? It's bound to collapse if nothing. All these repairs are not done. Continue.
Until we have safe, properly maintained, and fully resourced schools in every neighborhood.
The school board says it's committed to addressing those issues, but insists they can only be solved with more taxpayer dollars, not a contract with teachers.
What goes in the contract doesn't actually solve that problem.
As the unresolved negotiations force a virtual start to the school year, the teachers union is calling on families to honor the picket line by boycotting.
So you see how, like, if you were to ask most Americans, hey, your kids, the schools that they go to, most public school kids, the schools that they go to is falling apart. We're gonna need like a 1% more tax increase to make sure we can rebuild the infrastructure and maintain it, right? Are you willing to do so? Have a referendum? Well, yeah, hell yeah. Like, most people are well in mind to actually say, yeah, if you need more of my tax dollars for that, as long as my kids are going and being taught in a safe environment, then do so. A lot of people will agree to that, right? But now with the framing of everything that's beneficial to the American people being socialism or communism, everyone else is now taking it back and saying, like, oh my God, here it goes. It's just socialism. More and more redistributing my wealth to help kids out. This is how terrible. This is the line of reasoning most people in this country haven't, because they've been conservatively indoctrinated into the BS.
Remote class.
We're starting off how we did with COVID.
The conflict has put students like 16-year-old Inaya Broom, a senior at Eastmore Academy High School, in a tough position. She told us she'd rather be in person, but supports the strike.
We started off school with no air, no heat. It's embarrassing compared to these other school districts. Our school has been the same for like 50 years.
You're laughing.
Because my grandma went to the school and she said the same thing. Like, why does it look exactly the same?
Her mother agrees, but worries about how the...
Think about that. Our previous generations saw this, right? Saw this. And nothing changed. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. Your grandma walks into school and be like, whoa, this is the same spot that I used to. That shouldn't be a thing. The school system should be evolving. The buildings should be evolving to meet cultural and technological demand, right? To meet the ever more increase. Oh God, I will have the word and just like slipped away from me. What the hell? Increase of, man, forget it.
Disruption and more remote class could take a toll on some students.
I stand by the teachers, but this being the beginning of the school year, I think was just terrible for the kids.
And you can hear a lot of supporters honking for this ongoing strike. As it continues, the district has set up 25 running sites for students to pick up free meals. Meanwhile, the teachers union and school board head back to the bargaining table this afternoon.
And that was day one of the teachers strike. You know, that was day one of what's going on. And I can't believe I lose. See, this is why we need to what you call it. See, like, I'm forgetting my words at this time. This is why we need to not only pump more money into the paychecks of our educators, but also into the infrastructure of it. So that was what's going on in Columbus, Ohio. And that was I think it was a couple weeks back, right? Let's see, a couple days ago. That was the 24th of August. The first day of the strike. We're on the 31st. I think the strike is finished and they reached negotiation. But we shall see. we shall see what's going to go on there. All right. So this is not only, we're not only concentrating on what's going on with the Columbus, Ohio strike. We're also going to take the word from a teacher that, explains why teachers are leaving this year. This video was posted on November 16th, 2021. Relatively last year. We're coming up on a year in this video, but it's a good video explaining what's the frustration when it comes to our educators, right? It's a really good video explaining that. So let's chat and react like always, right? And if you like what we're doing here, like I said, hit that follow, hit the subscribe, whatever the case may be. Yeah, just enjoy the content, and because like I enjoy you.
It's no surprise to anyone that we have a major teacher shortage this year. Teachers are walking out of schools this year at an alarming rate. And you want to know why? I'll tell you exactly why teachers are quitting. Coming home mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausted. Some teachers are coming home having endured being hit, kicked, bit, slapped by students. And we're exhausted to the point where we can't even take care of our own kids because we are so drained at the end of the day because of all the stuff we're dealing with at school this year. The kids this year, they don't know how to play with each other. They don't know how to stop playing with each other. They don't know how to sit down, be quiet, to not call their teacher's name 100 times. We have had to reacclimate them to being in school again. Some of them haven't been in school for 2 years. I don't understand why we're just picking back up business as usual. We are absolutely dog tired and exhausted. We have to do something because what we're doing is not working. We got admin and...
I apologize for not being more transformative, but she was just laying out the facts. And also I was on my phone, so I apologize for that too. Yeah, you could see, as I stated before, neglectful students that don't really care about it. And this is more of the higher, high school students. That's a problem too that we also have to recognize because their upbringing, especially in a lead painted filled old crumbling school district, led to this consequences of being more reactive to the environment around them. All right. Also neglectful parents, as you stated before.
District officials shouting practice self-care while continually adding a million things to our plates. If y'all really cared about us practicing self-care, we wouldn't be made to feel bad when we need to take a mental health day or when we have to take a personal day off. I mean, you got teachers out here coming to school mentally sick, coming to school physically sick because their admin make them feel bad if they have to miss a day because there's a teacher shortage. I shouldn't have to sacrifice my health because y'all don't have any teachers. Our prep time is gone because there's a teacher shortage and a substitute teacher shortage. So 9 times out of 10, we are having to cover a class during our prep period. So when am I supposed to lesson plan, grade these papers, get prepared for teacher observations? And I don't even know why y'all are still doing teacher observations.
And you see them talking about squeezing blood out of a rock, squeezing blood of a boulder, whatnot, right? Pressuring them more and more, do more, be more productive, do more. And this is the result of it. You get quicker and quicker people burning out, quicker people saying F this. I don't care about what's going on about the classrooms. I'm just gonna abandon all this because it's not worth it. And for all you free market people, this is how the market decides, right? The conditions are poor. No one wants to do this anymore. No one wants to deal with the increased pressure of becoming an educator in this country. So I'm going to find a different avenue. I'm already educated. I already got my bachelor's and master's. I could probably take this somewhere else where they're going to pay me better and I can have a more relaxing environment. We don't have to deal with your badass kids.
We've got kids missing an entire class period, missing the first part of class because they didn't have a bus driver to come pick them up because of the bus driver shortage. There's
also now a transportation shortage. You can see that going around your neighborhood too. A lot of school buses. When you drive around past the school, it's going to be a big old giant yellow bus. It's going to say, hey, bus drivers needed, pay, call this number, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, because people are also tired of that low-paid, underappreciated job of transporting your kids from certain stops to school and back and make sure they're arriving safe, accounted for, etc., etc. This is all piling up, right? And it's starting to become its own bubble. sooner or later, this bubble's going to burst. And the consequences of this is your kids have to sit back. And even though we're kind of in a post-pandemic era, there's just going to not be enough teachers, not going to be enough bus drivers, not going to be enough janitors, not going to be enough principals. It's just not going to be enough to sustain a school, a structured learning environment in school. So they're just turned back, and your kid is just going to be taught through their laptops. It's going to be online learning all the time, which we're going to start to see more and more of the consequences that they has socially on our kids.
Kids missing class, and we got parents that are upset with us as their teacher that they weren't in class. I can't control that they didn't have a bus driver to come pick them up. But all of these shortages, they are affecting these students' education this year. How do you expect us to teach and get our kids on grade level when half of our class is late because they didn't have a bus driver? And last but not least,
that's another thing that's been touched on. That's been a huge issue that I saw growing up as well. And most of you probably saw this issue as you grew up in the public school system. If you were taught there, the teachers are the first line of defense against parents, right? They're getting blamed for everything that they don't have control of, right? They are the customer service representative in any retail spot. They are the call center representatives. You know, they're the people who receive all of the blame, the physical assaults, the outright. Sometimes they outright get deleted from like neglectful parents or parents who think that the teachers are somehow manipulating their students' lives to make it worse. In which two things are true about that statement. One thing is teachers probably don't care, or two, they care, but it's out of their degree of control. It's mostly the administrators who have to deal with this and they have to put in these policies in place to constantly squeeze these teachers until their ultimate burnout.
teacher pay. Now more than ever, teachers are looking for a way to leave education, like exit stage left immediately. The situation is that dire. There are a lot more jobs that pay way better than education, and you don't have to deal with crazy parents and power-hungry admin or district officials that have not seen the broad side of a classroom in about 20 years. The sad reality is there are so many teachers in this country that can't afford to pay their bills because they make so little money being in education. I mean, the amount of teachers that have to work a second job just to be able to pay their bills, astronomical. So a lot of teachers are starting to realize the pay plus the amount of stress that we have to deal with, not worth it anymore.
Yeah, and if you like our videos and you want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe to Poor Teachers. Yeah, and most of the teachers are just not getting paid enough with the amount of bills, the amount of resources that they purchase. Like they're human beings too that need to live in our society. And so they're the most ignored when it comes to that. So a lot of them are now your Uber drivers. Now they're your waiters. You're not to take these easier jobs to easier jobs. What the hell? Why did that come out of my mouth? They had to take these jobs just to keep the lights on, just to keep foods on the table. They have families too, you know. But again, war on teachers, war on educators, just to see if oh my God, really? Sorry, this was something that popped up. Just to see how much of the dime we can squeeze to have educators, administrators, pockets lined up. Which goes to this article that we're gonna look at today. For now, nearly 70% of LA teachers have seriously considered quitting. Studies find, and this is from The Guardian, right? There's a few things to highlight here. A news report from the United Teachers Los Angeles surveyed more than 13,000 educators in the city and found that 70% of teachers have seriously considered leaving the profession, and 28% of educators work a second job to make ends meet. That's a high number of educators that need a second job just to pay bills. Nearly 60% of this is almost no different than what most of us have to struggle with today. Nearly 60% of educators with 20 or more years of experience reported not being able to afford to live in the communities where they teach. Now, this is against one of the conservative arguments that these teachers just want to come straight from graduate school or straight out of a 4-year college, a bachelor's or whatever, and they're gonna receive the basically luxury plan of all the workforces, right? Only teach 10 months out of the year, receive this huge salary, and basically just chill. Where in actuality that could be further from the truth, because even teachers who have the accolades and the years of experience are not seeing what's being propagandized to the masses of Americans. In the first half of 2022, the Los Angeles area has the highest rental prices in the U.S. at the median price of $4,664 a month for a single-family home. Between 2018 and 2021, the cost of basic necessities in LA increased by more than 20%. So, as the cost of living starts to increase and more the wages stay stagnated, especially for our educators, this is becoming more and more of a reality. Why do I have all this education, all these degrees and certifications? Why don't I just go work for Silicon Valley? Why don't I just go work for a different, go into a different line of work and try to see if I could put food on the table for my family? Because this stress is not enough. According to the report, the number of teachers quitting in 2020 to 2021 increased by 38% from the previous years, and retirement rose 12%, with public education employment in Los Angeles still facing a deficit about 15,800 workers compared to February 2020. So you can see the mass exodus here. Of course, it just basically spells it out for you. It's not looking good for LA, and a lot of people are leaving LA as well, right? And remember, this LA, California in itself is a huge economy in itself in our country. Public education funding is significantly inadequate for school districts with high and medium poverty level rates. So not only is the poorest among us dealing with this, because that's what a lot of people have in their mind, that, oh, it's just the poor schools, it's just the poor neighborhoods, it's the bad kids, so we don't have to worry about them. No, middle income range, middle high income range are starting to also feel that constant neglect of funding our education system and looking out for our teachers and keeping our classrooms adequate. Which public schools funding heavily reliant on local and state funds, creating funding inadequacies, inequality, across towns and states. The U.S. spends 11.6% of public funding on education, short of USCO's bench of 15%. All right. So that's just something I wanted to highlight from this article. And, the biggest thing to take home is that teachers are getting tired of this. This has all become a microcosm of our neglect of our educators. Let's move on to the next story. So you may be asking yourself, what's going on in the second day? Has things changed when it comes to the Columbus, Ohio thing? Let's return back to the teacher strike, and see what is the outcome of the negotiations. As of now, they've already reached an agreement, I believe, and they started celebrating. I may be a little bit too, but we're looking back into that.
Education Association teacher strike after the Board of Education held a more than 5-hour special meeting last night. The two sides remain split on a new deal, with the start of school a day away. NBC4's Matthew Herchick live at the Southland Center. That's where they held that meeting last night. So where do things stand this morning, Matthew?
Yeah, good morning, Brad. Well, we have been reaching out to members on both sides throughout the morning. I've spoken with the union, spoken with the district as well, and both tell me that as it stands this morning, there really is no change. And with that, there's really no more clarity on where things go from here. You can see teachers and union members picking.
Now, remember, all these meetings are being held behind closed doors because they don't want to be transparent with the fact and tell you where this money is being allocated. Where is the focus of these administrators? Is it the focus on increasing their salaries? Is it the focus on actually educating your kids? Is the focus on basically trying to build and maintain the infrastructure of the classroom? No one really knows. All we know is all we can do is believe in the union, and I believe in that they're looking out for the best interests of the students. That's all we can do, right? I, for one, say we should all be, especially since your tax dollars are going to this, we should be privy to what's been going on, what's being said, what's being negotiated. All this should be put up front, so that way we're not in the dark about things.
Out here, they've been out again since 7 o'clock this morning. Now, in a statement last night, Board of Education President Jennifer Adair said that the board was working to find a, quote, collaborative path forward. And while they said they don't have any action on that to report yet, they say they will soon. Now, like you said, the board went into executive session around 7 p.m. last night and didn't come out until after midnight. According to Adair, the board has made a best and final offer to the union that included a 3% annual raise for teachers, limits on class sizes, and limits on how many schools in which arts teachers would be required to teach. In the proposal, the district would also create a committee to come up with ways to better address concerns about health, safety, and building conditions. Now, the board says they still haven't received notice from the...
And again, a committee. Why do you need a committee? We all know what's going on. We all collectively told you that it's been terrible. You don't need a committee for this. You just need to say, "Oh, okay, we see a problem here. Let's fix the problem. Let's not do what other people like to do, just to push this under the rug. Oh, we build a committee. Okay, the committee deemed it that all these damages are okay to pass through, and they're okay. We wouldn't have to worry about it. You could send your kids to school, right? The ceiling won't fall on them or nothing like that, right? They won't be drenched in a waterfall of sewage, when the pipes burst or whatnot. They won't inhale and lick lead paint, knowing how crazy these kids are. They eat Tide Pods, for example, None of this is going to happen. The committee is fine that there's no present issues going on in the school, and that the constant asking for infrastructure rebuilding and maintaining is just the way that these unions want the unions want more pay, right? They're trying to live, they're trying to have a luxury building, basically a luxury office in the classroom. That's what they're trying to strive for. And that's basically the propaganda being spewed out on the other side.
Union about their sticking points. The union says
Yeah,
that's
easy,
not
right?
true. But with school still set to begin tomorrow, this was the board's message amid the ongoing strike.
Our board fully recognizes this disruption and concern felt for and by our children and families across our city and to our school community. Like you, we are extremely saddened by the start to the school year.
The reason why they're saddened is because it's not business as usual, as always. They're mad when it's disrupted or changed that actually helps people. Always pisses them off because if their kids are not, if asses are not in our desk, how are we supposed to get paid? How are we supposed to justify our bloated salaries? Come on.
For the union, spokesperson Regina Fuentes has urged that this strike is not about money. It's about fixing schools and providing a better and safer environment for the students. Meanwhile, with city leaders calling on both sides to head back to the negotiating table, CEA says they never left. Local for you in Columbus, Matthew Herchick, NBC4.
Matthew.
So yeah, that's basically what's happening. And then the reason why I wanted to highlight this is, just to show what happens with these negotiations, how it always just becomes a constant battle on what needs to be done and what needs to not change, right? So the administrators, of course, on the side of what needs to not change. Well, how can they benefit from this? Oh, and then of course the educators are on the side of what needs to be changed for the betterment. Especially, it's a union. Most of the time. Not all the time, okay? Sometimes it can also backfire. You can't believe in the system 100%. Oh, no. And sometimes the collectivized effort of people are to basically enrich themselves at the detriment of others. See the administrators, for example. All right, so another thing we're going to highlight too is, okay, this is basically an issue that's mostly concentrated in the United States. So let's see let's see what the other countries, how they feel about their teachers. And it's just a graph that I pulled up here to explain just that. Where are teachers most valued? This is I think this is from the NEA.org, right? The Global Teacher Status Index of 2018. So we're looking back to 2018. This may have changed a little bit, may have not. And we see at the top of the list is China, Malaysia, Taiwan, Russia, Indonesia, Korea, Turkey, India, New Zealand, Singapore, Canada, Greece, UK, Switzerland, Panama, and under my country is my country again, the United States. And under that is Finland, Japan, Egypt, etc., etc., and go on. As you can see, the number one country in the world supposedly is it's kind of in the middle of the list. I'm not gonna say very low, in the middle of the list. Most valued, most looked after, more of the people who see their teachers as a virtue, I guess, or highly valued in their society, and they should be looked out for. So, of course, we have an issue. We're being beat out by most of these countries, and where we should be number one is, ain't that right, America? So that's just one thing as well. So, okay, we saw all the arguments for unionization. We saw all the arguments of from the side of collectivizing and trying to fight back against the administrators, against the states and local officials as well. Let's see what the propaganda is on the other side. Let's see the argument against it. Let's see what Fox News has to say about stuff like that, right?
Importance of education.
All right. And this is the Five's reaction to basically the Columbus, Ohio strikes in general. And let's see how the framing is on the side of heavy propaganda.
We're overplaying the importance of education.
So, doctor, this is grooming, right?
Brainwashing toddlers with
grooming.
Racist drivel.
Cameras in the classroom as we put them on the chests of police officers.
But I don't think these teachers are even smart enough to be in the classroom.
Teachers hate.
Not smart enough to be in the classrooms, although most teachers are now required to have a master's degree to even step foot in there.
Teaching, and they hate their students.
They legit hate your kids.
They're lazy. They're incompetent.
Sluggish cat ladies in sweats stained with chocolate eclairs.
The KKK with summers off.
Teachers.
KKK with summers off. How? None of this make any sense. Dribble, propaganda, and outright bashing of the educators. Why? Because the educators are asking for more. They're asking, rightfully so, for more. They're asking for better classroom environments, better pay, and any other people. This is to be the same thing if the hosts at Fox News were abused themselves. You don't think that they knock on the door of their CEO or their bosses and ask for a bonus, ask for higher pay, thinking that they are, their woe is me as well. If they were met with the same conditions in a crumbling newscaster station or whatever, you don't think that they were arguing the same thing? But wait, there's more.
Make 20% less than people with similar degrees, but they also work 20% less. They have school, they have the summers off.
They would like less work, no accountability, and much more pay.
They're teaching our children to sext.
They took God out of our schools, Sandra.
To view pornography.
Propaganda, dribble, babble, nonsense. You see the framing? It's to make the average brain dead conservative ingest all this nonsense and just be basically fought like they're fighting against our educators, right? That's all this is lined up to do. It's not lined up to do anything else. Parents revolt against woke school policies. None of this makes any sense. It doesn't lead anywhere. It's only to incite fear and anger. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just straight into your veins. Fear and anger, fear and anger, fear and anger. Hate. Boogeyman. This is the new villain of the year. This is the new villain of the week. This is the new villain of the day. That's all it is. And guess who the villain is? The same person that sees your kid for 9 to 10 hours a day, who's living in unlivable conditions.
And then the left replaced it with CRT, which is this neo-Marxist religion.
What they are doing is
someone can't read a teleprompter properly. Narcissist. Okay.
Grooming our children for sexual predators.
This is a new world order. Everything they do is anti-kid, anti-parent.
Why don't you go in there, thrash the teacher, and you're going to get hurt? And I think that should be the rule still. You get beaten up, you should be beaten up. Please.
You see that? It's all the cultural war nonsense. That's the framing. That's the argument against everything that the teachers' unions, educators are asking for. That's it. It's wokeness when you ask for stuff that you so rightfully deserve. That's all it is when it comes to this overzealous right wing group in this country. And they eat this nonsense up. They eat it up. And guess what? There's some of these people who watch this propaganda are also teaching your kids. And this goes back to what I pointed out before. Cucked coworkers, cucked educators who believe that, we get summers off. What are you complaining about? Well, how do you pay for your bills? Well, I do 9 or 6, 7, I do 9 or 10 jobs during the summer to make ends meet. How come you're not working as hard? Well, you seem burnt down and you're on a lot of antidepressants. Should you think that you should be teaching under these conditions? Well, that's not what Tucker Carlson said. That's not what the Five said. You should believe them because they sent around their arguments tailored for the individual to feel as if they're being hindered by a small sector of society, right? That wants things to be better for them. That's the boogeyman. That's the issue. A small sector of society, the left, the woke, paint whoever who's asking for better conditions as the ultimate evil, right? And you are to fight against that. That's all their job is. Just to keep things going. Just to keep business as usual in the classroom. Just to let the school fall on top. Just to let all the things that we deal with continue on. Because, how are the administrators supposed to be paid? Right? But let's not look at the unions. Let's not look at the unions asking for better conditions in the classroom. Let's not look at teachers, declaring what needs to be done, and and giving the prescription of how to change this crumbling education system in this country. Let's look again towards Fox News into their highlights of teachers and what they think the solution should be. This is going to be a fresh react, so let's see how this goes. Going on to the final phase. All right. Teachers speak out on American educational system. Now, this was just not too long ago, the 28th of August. Let's see. I've already skipped to the introduction.
Our kids that spend the majority of the time with you guys. So thank y'all so much for dedicating some time to talk with us. There's so much to talk about with education today, but I really want to go back to the decision that you guys made and why. Why did you decide to be an educator? I'll start with you, Elizabeth.
I knew when I was in college that I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference in the world, and that was my reason for going into teaching.
Very good. Bridget?
I had a lot of influential teachers in my life when I was young. And when I used to play with my best friend, that's what we used to play. We'd go home from school and we'd play school. So it's kind
Remember,
of...
this is the same Fox News that said that most of these educators here are just woke, liberal, leftist cat ladies that want to indoctrinate your kid with CRT and LGBTQ IA plus subject matter that they deem nonsense. All right? That's all. It's the same teachers that they stated that before in the Five, and the Tucker Carlson, the Hannitys, and all that other stuff. So now we're playing nice.
Have been in me since I was young.
Yeah, Yako, when did you first decide that you were going to be an educator?
I was a little bit late. I decided when I was doing my master's. I found this one incredible teacher. And I realized how much she had an influence on all of us in the classroom. And then I felt like, okay, I want to do this.
These last 2 years have been very hard for the children as well as educators.
So, basically inspirational stories in which these educators now, and plus I have to comment Ted on this because, fair uses and whatnot. So I'm not sitting here just letting the thing go off. I'm providing transformative commentary as always. This is the Political Black Pill Chapter 10 as well. So, if you want to like, follow, subscribe, and all that other stuff, all that nice stuff that you like that I'm doing here, I'm calling you to that action. And hopefully you can come in and, we discuss and, direct the conversation. But this has been, great. Like, it's really, really an eye-opening thing that we can now understand where the narrative is coming from. Because we could speculate that this is not an issue that's going to go away anytime soon, especially with the country now. What I like to call a recession on the books, right? Is the inflation's getting sky high. A lot of economic bubbles are bursting. all these educators live in the same country as we do and dealing with the same problems as we do. But so you can see a lot more teachers, a lot more of a mass exodus of teachers. That 300,000 might jump up to 500,000. And then we're going to be really in the pickle.
So tell me, what is the biggest challenge for you as an educator?
The biggest challenge right now, I think, is that we're overwhelmed. Prior to the pandemic, reading levels in this country were in the decline. Math levels in this country were in the decline. During the pandemic, we lost 2 years in the classroom. And so now teachers, tutors, educators are being charged with making up for lost time in a very truncated period. So they want you to cover 2 years of material.
Hey, Colton55, thanks for the follow.
In 9 months, it's just not possible. So the job has become very stressful.
Yeah. Judith, does that resonate with you, what Brooke just said?
Very much so. And being in the English department, it's now like, we call it project graduation. And project graduation is trying to get kids on pace with test scores, SAT, ACT.
Hey, I appreciate the rate.
Florida no longer does the FSA, so we have to find a way to show that these kids have grown despite all the hiccups that have come during the COVID pandemic.
Mary, how bad is it?
Hey,
Sadly,
Coach Lawrence, I appreciate
children
the
look
raid.
at school and they think this is something that can be taken away from me, like it was in March of 2020.
Welcome, guys. We're at the tail end of the Political Black Pill Chapter 10. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you don't watch anything, if you don't watch the beginning of it, I implore you to do so. But where we're at now, it's basically we went on the line of what was the conservative solutions for the DeSantis, or the conservative solution for the teacher shortage that happened in Florida. Well, they were trying to use already stressed out veterans to basically be the sacrificial lamb in another war room in the classroom. Then we talked about as well what the Columbus, Ohio strike was all about. And basically what it outlined is what a common issue was going on with teachers. I'm just giving you guys a cliff note of what the show's about. For those who are watching, the cliff notes about what's going on with the Columbus, Ohio strike and how that's also affecting other states in this country where basically teachers are teaching in a classroom that's in a disarray. Tiles are falling, pipes are bursting. There's still lead paint. Can you believe that in 2022? There's still lead paint basically falling off, and we know how students like to see like their TikTok challenges. We saw from a teacher's mouth, what's going on. Why is there this mass exodus of teachers in the LA county and in LA and in other parts of the United States? They're burnt out, just like the rest of us. We're burnt out. But here's the thing: these are our educators. These are the people who watch our children for 8 to 10 hours plus a day. Teaching them how to basically survive on this world. And we can get into more and more of the conspiratorial stuff about that. And then, we looked at how Fox News basically tried to argue against these strikes and the unionization, fighting the politicians and the administrators in their bloated pockets, and how they're framing how terrible teachers are. And now we're in the tail end of this chapter of basically Fox News is kind of like, how do I say this? Trying to mitigate damage, right? So trying to make sure that everything's all lined up. And I appreciate all the follows as well, guys. All right. My only question is, especially with these teachers being interviewed, is like, what are these private school teachers? But they're talking about a lot of problems that we've already discussed earlier.
Parents look at school as optional now. We still have chronic absenteeism rates all across the country. Our schools are nowhere near the attendance rates they were pre-COVID. And as Brooke mentioned, teachers are overwhelmed.
Appreciate the follow.
There is so much pressure on teachers to catch up with curriculum. They are feeling sometimes fearful in the classroom when you look at situations like Uvalde. They're feeling disrespected. There are stories all over the country of teachers who've had verbal abuse, physical abuse from students, from parents. So school, sadly, in our country is no longer looked at as a safe place for children and teachers to go and learn and be together.
Remember, all this is being stated in Fox News. I'm waiting for the contrary point that the host might present. I don't really watch Lawrence Jones at all. But they can't get away with this, right? They're telling the truth of what's going on. Maybe they might get away with it. Sometimes Fox News is, sometimes their stupidity goes far ahead than what it needs to be.
So Christina, is it the general consensus that all the students are behind right now, and that is the biggest problem facing you teachers?
Well, yes and no. I do think that when they came
Hello.
back from the pandemic, my particular state came back very quickly. We came back in the beginning of August 2020, where a lot of the country was still out. Now we came back in a staggered formation, so half of my kids didn't know the other half of the kids until October when they all came back. And yes, the last two years were definitely challenging because I teach first grade, and a lot of my kids came in without any kindergarten base. They were virtual.
I feel like there's a but that's about to come in. I feel like there's about to be all this stuff is happening, but let's see.
But kids learn better together. They learn better
Hello,
with
how you
their
doing,
peers.
Mousy?
And we know that sticking a
Golden
screen in front
2021.
of 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds is not a good plan. So getting them all back together and all learning together. I'm actually happy to, even
Wait, what's going on with
though
the
it was
audio?
terribly difficult. By the end of last year, my kids were back where they should have been and where they had been historically before the pandemic. So this year, we've already started, because in the South, we start in the middle of August. And I have already seen that the kids that attended kindergarten last year are now in my class, and they are where they should be. So it's giving me a little sense of relief, but it's still incredibly difficult.
So Elizabeth, I want to shift gears for a second because I think that was a perfect segue. How is what happened the past 2 years impacting this year? I mean, you just started for a lot of schools. What impact does it have? Is it them being behind? Is it the social?
I'm just going to reiterate the same point over and over again. We know they're afraid. They're afraid what's to come, right? All the issues from the pandemic is just culminating a worse and worse environment and a worse and worse working conditions for these teachers. And they're just trying to save face as much as they can to present it in a digestible way. That way they don't like really sparse like the Fox News watcher community. Okay, I'm tired of this. Let's move on to solutions. All right, we know what's going on. The last three or four teachers already stated.
Distancing or awkwardness that the kids aren't used to seeing their classmates again. Is it the safety issue? All of that in combined, how is that impacting this upcoming semester?
Well, like you said, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I would say though, what I've seen, especially in the younger years, I've seen more anxiety in children.
Thank you so much.
Children as young as 5 years old.
Hope I can
because
see you
there's
again.
so much pressure at home with the families, with the pandemic, and maybe they're affected financially, or they couldn't, adjust to what the COVID did to their situation. And I've seen a lot of young children with a lot of anxiety, and I still think we need to put mental health at forefront. That's the most important, because if they are carrying around a burden of worrying about what's going on at home, they're not going to be able to take on any learning.
Do y'all all agree with what she just said right there? Because I saw all the nodding right there.
Why would they disagree?
Big issue, the mental health with the students. Yes. So, I mean, it's tough to talk about this with all of that took place in the pandemic, Brooke. Now there's a shortage of teachers. What is that about? What, is it teachers feeling disrespected? Is it the safety again? Or is it they're not being paid sufficiently?
So you raised many good points. So right now we're facing about a 300,000 teacher shortage nationwide coming.
And of course, this is the market deciding of what it wants to do, right? Isn't that right, free market enthusiasts? This is exactly. Oh, look, I got the light shining bright on me. Oh, look at that. Means the shades have to go down, right? Shades go down. Oh my God, what is going on? Oh, I really need to invest in that light. Of course, this happens. The sun rays hits perfectly fine. Give me a moment. Let me fix this real quick. DJ, where you at, DJ? DJ, turn that shit on. Can you see him? Turn that shit on, DJ. Give me a second. We're gonna take a a quick break. All right, DJ, you can stop it now. Thank you. We're back to the show. All right. Where are we at? Yes, mass exodus of teachers. $300,000 plus. The numbers, dude, it's bound to rise pretty soon anyway.
Into classrooms this fall, which is pretty terrifying because, as we know, classrooms in general are already overcrowded. So what are we going to do? Part of this could be related to teacher compensation. There's a radical sort of spread for teacher compensation nationwide. In New York State, an average teacher salary is around $85,000 a year. In Florida, where I live, an average teacher salary is $50,000 a year. Spend per student.
Come on, Florida. You're supposed to be the bastion of conservatism. What are you doing? Come on, DeSantis. F it. We're going to hire veterans and pay them even lower than what the average teacher salary is. You know? We're not going to do that. Isn't that spectacular? How is it, you sit there, you're dealing with almost the same conditions that teachers in New York is. And of course, I know the cost of living is different from state to state. We're not going to discount that. But we're going to recognize it's kind of disheartening to think like, okay, I'm getting paid significantly less than a teacher who's teaching the same curriculum. Let's not forget Common Core is a thing in a different state with a lot more students, a lot more meat-headed parents, and a lot more in the same, I want to say cavalcade, right? If that's the proper word for it, or myriad of problems that they face, especially in an environment like Florida that fosters a lot of alt-right, right-wing children who decides that they wanted to use our classrooms as gun ranges and to basically push out their political agenda of starting a race war, right? Especially in these classrooms. Think about that. You got to be afraid for your life day by day that one of your students might snap, right? One of the faculty might snap. That's a lot of stories that hasn't been highlighted with a lot of faculty teachers saying, you know what? It's over for the rest of us. I mean, just going out and just causing destruction, right? Those stories are out there too. I wish I brought those up to highlight that, but let's not get too dark with that stuff. But yeah, and this happens in the classroom, and we're largely ignoring it. Good on us, right?
New York, an average of $23,000 a year. Spend per student in Florida, about $9,000 per student per year. Having to teach on Zoom as a teacher and being exposed to criticism from parents, being berated by parents because, teachers were asked to teach on Zoom. They'd never done that before. And so they were put into a new environment and exposed to families. And I feel like they felt a bit attacked. So that would be, a second factor. As Mary mentioned before, there has obviously been school.
Okay, Liz, these teachers are the first in line in defense of the administration. Not voluntarily, right? They have to deal with neglectful parents who get violent, and parents who think that, this is just a daycare they can drop their kids off and basically just, whisk away. So if there's an issue going on with the entire school system and the education system in general, they're going to blame the teachers. And what Fox News and other propaganda news agencies are going to do is try to see if they can frame it to keep the conversation and criticisms only about the teachers because they're asking for more pay. Everyone's asking for more pay. We're dealing with economic instability right now, the likes of we have never seen historically in this country. So more and more people, the more and more stress they put in, the more and more production they put in, of course they're going to ask for more. But the thing is, it's mostly in line with what the administrators want the classroom to be, right? They want the classroom to be an environment in which the teachers are just going to be just zombies, right? Zombies in the classroom. Teach, don't care, throw packets away, text on my phone and then leave. That's basically what they want to paint, and that's what the administrators want it to be. That way the students don't really learn to be, critical thinkers. Just learn to be how to be better workers, how to deal with how to be content with the society that they're being fostered in. And once they come out and join the workforce, they think that this is the way to be, and they never look upon change. And it aligns, can keep the money going, keep the money flowing, right? We only increase taxes to line the superintendents, the other bureaucrats' pockets, and the teachers suffer.
Shootings, that comes to the fore. Teachers may not feel safe. And then, as I said, having to catch students up and having unrealistic expectations set on curriculum and teaching is also another factor. So I think teachers are just saying, this isn't worth it anymore.
Whether it may be safety, not feeling appreciated, have any of you guys considered saying, enough is enough?
I've reached that point several times.
Tell me about that.
Let's go.
Originally, I was working in Orange County. There is a mental exhaustion. There is a physical exhaustion. There is constant berating. I myself have had so much stress and so much overwhelming happenings that I've actually gotten so physically sick. I had 2 surgeries working in one county. Doctor's orders demanding that I stay home. While I'm at home, they're still making me work. That's on doctor leave. That was so disheartening that I actually considered leaving. I got lucky finding Seminole County, and I got even luckier being in a school where there is not just a support system in the administration, but the community with the parents and the fellow teachers. Everybody kind of banded together, and even during the pandemic, we were very lucky that we were able to kind of make it work.
Mary, when you hear...
So you see that, right? This is because this is not only true for the teachers, because we're concentrating more and more on that, of what's going on in the classroom. This is true for you, right? And you're hearing these arguments, you're hearing these points that they're being shown to you. And you got to ask yourself why. You got to ask yourself, how come the things can't change? Well, it's because most Americans fear being inconvenient in their own routine. Their fear of the change that is being proposed or the change to come. So we oftentimes regress ourselves, especially when we look at our pocketbook being used, into being at the point that we are now. Right, the planet's fighting back. Right, more and more climate disasters. Our teachers are leaving en masse. Right, our public officials, our public services workers are also leaving en masse too. That's another thing that's going to be highlighted. More and more to come. You yourself, in the private sector, people in the private sector deciding a great resignation. I'm tired of this. This is enough. It doesn't mean anything, right? And more people are starting to realize the collective power that they have, and also the worth they have as a human being. It dawns on me all the time of how we spend 4 decades plus in the workforce just to come out brittle, battered, and beaten to the point of exhaustion. And for what's true in our generation, any sort of retirement, we just can't see that being an actual thing, right? So here's to say that we're reaching the ultimate breaking point in this country, right? The ultimate end stages of what's to come, right? Of all the seeds that we planted, right? We're reaping all of what we sowed. So it's good to come to that that thought day by day as you punch into your 9 to 5, and you have to look around you of people who are also dealing with this, right? The unburdened stress of capitalism, the unburdened stress of the system, So let's continue forward with it.
To talk like that and talk about the experience. Now you're in a position of leadership now. Do you hear that same theme all the time?
100%. Listening to Brooke and Judith, leadership is key. I ran a school for the better part of 2 decades. You take care of your teachers. They are the ones who are literally on the front lines with the children day in and day out. Their happiness will make huge gains with the children, with the parents. You have a great teacher, you take care of that person. You work together. You problem solve together. Leadership, leadership, leadership.
So you just heard it from them. It's leadership. That's what it really comes down to. And until our nation's leaders step up, the future of our country remains at risk.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Shut up, Sean Hannity. All right, no one wants to hear that. Hey, funny, you'll hear all that, and then the next show, Hannity will go on. Hey, these teachers, how dare they ask for more pay? These teachers, like, who the hell? They'll just play this nonstop. They'll replay and be like, nobody gives a shit. Right? Because the establishment needs their balls washed. Okay? So there, we saw Fox News' propaganda brigade, and now we're seeing basically the damage control from other shows within Fox, trying to paint a more brighter picture that they hear out the problems of the teachers, because unless they realize some teachers are actually conservative and watch their show. So why do they constantly got to hear all this nonsense of them not having to complain of what they deal with, right? So that is what we call a bingo I'm playing. That is what we call a bingo. Hey, DJ, take this. Yeah, that's chapter 10. That's chapter 10 right there. You may be asking yourself, man, I like this guy. I wonder what Trump thinks about him.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Yeah, what about Biden?
You ain't black.
Biden will come around. I promise you he will. And if you want to, you can lead, hit that follow or subscribe if you like what I'm doing here, and you want to continue to help me grow this channel, help me support this show. Let's see what we got here. So yeah, man, I should have I already have this all popped up. I apologize, but I got you. I'm saying every show's an improvement. Every show will be an improvement. All right, DJ, cut it out. Thank you. And you don't need to stop scratching the turntables when I ask you to cut the music off, DJ. I don't know what's wrong with him. He drinks. He's an early drinker, so no. I'm sorry. She's an early drinker, and she just always does that. She thinks it's funny. It's not. All right.
Oh, Jesus.
It's just not. Anyways, we've come to the point of the show in which things are being wrapped up. My name is GXG, and you may ask yourself, oh, this is nice. What is the political black pill? Huh? Basically, let me resum what the political black pill is. Due to the inevitable outcomes of this socially parasitic, hyper-capitalistic system ruled by the malignant narcissist elite, we have no choice than to be fatalistic with the news and political developments of the world. The political black pill is not a nihilist philosophy. I am redefining it to be more pessimistic because we haven't changed at the speed necessary. And now the planet is fighting back. We are optimistic of the select few people out there fighting back and or have the potential to. You see, this current political system and the media pundits, whether independent or mainstream, love it when you bend the knee. We here don't say don't do it. You're free to vote or not. You're free to be active or not. This is not a philosophy against activism, unless your activism is to maintain the status quo and or repackaging fascism, then you're going to get roasted for that. And we're going to fight against that as well. So why the chapters? The chapters is just basically to organize the show from the various topics being discussed and or revisited. Also, the show is set up to be interactive with you guys, so forgive us from time to time if we start rambling and rambling off from a different topic. A chatter is done. Of course, we're going to return back to it. So, my name is GXG, and every time you come to watch the show, just pull up and watch the car crash with us. This is the Political Black Pill, and I am GXG. Until next time, as always. Oh, wait. Not until next time. I got to leave you with a positive message. Oh my God, I almost forgot that. Basically, the positive message is for today is to take care of yourself. All right? Don't try to hinder yourself from all the things that let's say body. Let's talk about the body today. That your body needs. Try to stay hygienic. Try to brush your teeth. Try to shower. Because you're basically grooming yourself to make yourself feel better. If any of you out there are facing any depressive episodes, just take the time off to breathe, right? You're completely worth it. Your time and energy is worth all that you put into this world, right? So know that you have a system that supports you, right? And here we'll support you as well. We'll help you fight through what's been going on. But I implore you just to take care of yourself more. Just sit back, relax, find more time, take a couple more minutes to shower and meditate. Take more minutes to go outside and breathe the fresh air, right? The world is continuing to spin, right? And you're worth it. And as always, stay classic. DJ.
you're a little lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted, sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted, back when you're a little richer. Lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted, sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted, back when you're a little lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted, sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted, back when you're a little richer. Lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted, sorry, Link. I can't give credit. Lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted, back when you're a little lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Come back when you're a little lamp oil, rope, bombs, wanted. Come back when you're a little richer.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Oh, Jesus.
But the choice between the blue and the red pill is not really a choice between illusion and reality. Of course, Matrix is a machine for fictions, but these are fictions which already structure our reality. If you take away from our reality the symbolic fictions that regulate it, you lose reality itself. I want a third pill. So what is the third pill? Definitely not some kind of transcendental pill which enables a fake fast food religious experience, but a pill that would enable me to perceive not the reality behind the illusion, but the reality in illusion itself. If something gets too traumatic, too violent, even too filled in with enjoyment, it shatters the coordinates